Morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me on my third session. How to write a story, how to write a little gift book of memories and stories from your life, your early life today, to give to family and friends as a Christmas present. Thank you to those of you who sent me messages saying that you're playing along and collecting your stories. Carolyn, who sent me a message saying that she's working on a scrapbook and that she's finding it very therapeutic. Glad to hear that. Carolyn, I'm finding these sessions really therapeutic as well. I mentioned last week that I've got a big folder full of little snatches of story that I've written over the years and find it really overwhelming knowing what to do with them. But having this little project is really concentrating those memories and giving me something that's manageable to do. And I'll probably refer to that again as we go along. The aim of this is that every week I prompt you to come up with 2 or 3 stories that you could tidy up after the session and package them together in different ways. If, like Carolyn, you're somebody who has started their little book, feel free to tell me about it in the comments. If I click the comments on, I can see. Morning, Jean. Nice to see you here. Thanks for coming. Anybody else say hello? Christine as well. Morning, Christine. Say hello. Drop a memory in the comment for me if you'd like to, or tell me that if you've started your book. You could even take a picture of it if you want to and show me. But remember to cover any personal details that might be identified anywhere and used by unscrupulous people. I've had a friend who's had her Facebook nicked this week, which is very annoying. So in this way, here's a story that I showed you. A collection of photographs that we put together for my dad's 80th birthday. I covered up the bits so, he's not with us anymore. Today would have been his 91st birthday. But that was over 11 years ago we had that one. Or another way to do it is, this is actually a little book of poetry and prose that I put together after a workshop in a local museum. Very, very easy to do. There's a little template for that I will put on my website. So if you pop onto my website later, I'll put some things up today that I mentioned today. And I think it cost me about 30 quid to have about 20 of these printed off in the local printers. So it's 32 pages long, 30 quid to have a little body of booklets to give to people for Christmas. That's just an idea. So, let's go down the list, keep me on track. So today we're going to do prompts about memories and experiences on the theme of late childhood and youth. We haven't done much about school, but I'll do a little bit about that today. But I do have, in July 2021, I did a whole session called School's Out, which was memories of school. You could look at that on the YouTube channel and do the prompts in that if you really want to write quite deeply about school memories. I'm going to touch on it today because it's just in this small book. It's just a small facet of our experiences, our childhoods. We're writing a memoir. A memoir is just a glimpse of your childhood, not a biography. We're not doing a big encyclopedic blow-by-blow account, which I say can be quite overwhelming. The idea of it. Remember, the session is supposed to be fun and enjoyable. If you find yourself getting upset or any of the memories trigger anything for you, stop. I'm going to do something that will cheer you up. And sun's coming out here now after all the rain. Chocolate, as I said last week, always chocolate does it for me. Don't stress about your spelling and grammar because people are more interested in having that story. And if you wanted to, if it bothers you, you can always get someone to check your spelling and grammar afterwards. The ideas I give you are just jumping off points. You do whatever you like with them. There's no right and wrong. You take this little collection of stories whichever way you want to and share snatches of story or memories or whatever in the comments. It's always lovely to hear from you. It's my favourite thing, knowing that there are people out there listening and maybe enjoying what I'm doing. It'd be good to know whether I'm hitting the right note or whether you'd like something different. If not, if you want something slightly different, tell me. I could tweak next week's session. So, hi Irene. Lovely to see you here too. Let's get writing. So I've got my little ticking clock. Right, we kind of did this last week. No, week 1, I think, about you as a very young child. But I'm going to ask you to listen things as if you were a character, really. Very similar to a character profile that you would write if you were doing a piece of fiction. And I will type this up as kind of a character profile on you as the younger you, and put that on my website as well. That's 2 things to do. But don't need the ticker actually. I'm going to ask you a list of questions. So if you have your notepad ready and a pen, I will go through these questions. We're thinking about you on the cusp of childhood now. Last time we were concentrating very much on you and your family and the patch that you lived in around your home at that point in your life. And now we're thinking about you on the cusp of childhood. Your body's changing. You're stretching out and beginning to get the beginnings of the adult body that you will have. Your features might be changing. You've lost that young child chubbiness. So that's quite a gawky's the word, isn't it? Gawky time in that childhood. That's lanky. You don't know what to do with your arms and legs, and they seem over large, and your hair colour might be changing. So quite often some people, their hair gets darker around this point. Beginning to get independence. So widening your experience of the world, beginning to go out beyond your patch a little bit, travelling outside your area without your family maybe for the first time. For me that was, and a lot of people, it is going to secondary school maybe, which isn't maybe as close to home, in a bigger pool of people, and you're meeting different groups of friends than just the ones on your, in my case, estate, on our housing estate. So let's go. I'm going to ask these questions. If I asked you at this point, first tell me your age. What is your age at the point you're thinking of? And again, you can choose different age points and other times. Replay this session and do this for different age groups if you want to. But choose a point and tell me what age you are. And I've got a photograph here to help me, which is quite useful. I won't show you because I look too gawky on it. So I am... Okay. And we're trying to find out who you are at this point. What kind of person are you? So what's your name at this point? Do you have a nickname in your home or elsewhere? It might be a different name by now. By the age I'm thinking of, my immediately elder brother had stopped the family calling him the little baby nickname he used to have. And he had got a name based on our surname with his friends. But I'll come back to comments in a minute. So yeah, have you got a name at this point? What's your hair colour? Is it the same as when you were younger? Hi, Nita. Nice to join. Thank you for joining us. It doesn't matter that you're late. It's nice to have you here. Jean has put, reminded me that she used to say to her mum, "Look, mum, they're growing," and pointing at her own boobs. And that's, it's not too rude, Jean. I used to do the opposite even at this point. When am I going to grow was mine. I was a late developer in that department. Right, so we've got hair colour. Hairstyle. Did you have a particular hairstyle? As I'm looking at this picture, I've got a very distinct style. I remember going to have that haircut with my friend Karen. So it's my first proper grown-up hairstyle, really. And prior to that, I'd hacked my fringe myself, which looked dreadful. But did you have a hairstyle at the age you're thinking of? And did you model it on anybody in particular? What height were you? So you need to, we're picking an age. I've actually picked 14. And I'm asking questions about you as me as a 14-year-old. You choose whatever age you like in early adulthood. So what height were you? Tell me about your physical appearance. Were you tall or short? Bony or chunky? Were you beginning to get boobs or not? What size were your shoes? Skin colour. Were you freckly? Dark skinned? No. Adolescent spots, I've just remembered. I suffered very badly from acne. It was a bane of my life. My mother promised me I'd grow out of them. She lied. Yeah, did you have face furniture? So by that I mean around this time I got glasses. Around the age I was about, I was 14, 15 when I got my glasses. But I also went and had my ears pierced, and that was a sign of independence. My dad didn't want me to have it done. In fact, he didn't want me to have my hair cut either. Any piercings, glasses, anything? Right. Did you have a favourite outfit? What kind of style of clothes did you wear at that time? And was that modelled on anybody? So I'm actually at 15 wearing jeans and a denim waistcoat, which I thought was very cool. A little bit status quo-ish. Because I thought they were quite cool. So, favourite outfit. Can you remember going to buy it? And if you did, what was the name of the shop you bought it from? Right. So moving away from your appearance, let's think about what kind of person you were. Joyce has put she remembers wearing her brother's white silk tie. Very cool. Yeah, I went on to wear a flat cap for a little while when I was 17. That was very cool. Right, so what kind of person were you? Did you, we're thinking hobbies and the things that you liked, which we kind of listed for your younger self. Did you have a favourite book? What was it? Maybe beginning to get adult tastes. What was it called? Wuthering Heights, there you go. So favourite book, favourite TV programme or film at that time? Did you have a favourite band that you followed? So for my generation, that might be, were you a David Cassidy, Osmonds, or Bay City Rollers fan? I think, yeah, David Cassidy and the Osmonds were a little bit earlier, probably late 11, 12 for me, but I'd moved on to rocky things, hence the, I'll say rocky things, hence the jacket, waistcoat rather. Who did I like with waistcoats? Can't remember. On the cusp of the punk years, not quite the punk years, but they're coming when I'm looking at that. Me rocking a waistcoat was the nearest I got to it, I think. So favourite bands, musicians. I'm gonna have to put status quo. Did you have a best friend at that point? Or a gang of mates? Or both? Did you have a particular friend but you were part of a gang? So my best friend at that time, my first non-patch friend from school would be Karen. So yeah. And we were part of a bigger group at school with Sally and Susan, Sally B and Susan T. Did you have a favourite meal at that time? What would your favourite meal have been at the age you're thinking of? Or if it's not your favourite, at least the one your mum, you particularly remember your family serving up every week. So it's still going to be egg and chips for my mum, to be fair. Although pizzas were beginning, probably had my first frozen pizza from Co-op around this age, and we thought we were very bougie having that. We know how to live. Hobbies. So hobbies, I've said that, haven't I? Did you have a particular hobby that you really liked at that time? I was still heavily into crafting at this point. Crafting. Tapestry. My sister taught me to do tapestry around this time. And I remember, I wonder what I did with it. I made a tapestry of Henry VIII, but I've got no idea where it is now. It was the stitches all pulled it that way, so it was a little bit elongated like he was running. Were you given pocket money? Then, if so, how much? And or did you have a Saturday job? Okay, I'm going to leave that question. Okay, quick fire here, very quickly. I'd like you to tell me 2 things you loved. Two things you hated. Two things you really wanted. Right. Okay, what time are we on? 20 past. Alrighty. So I'll quickly just go a couple of mine I may have already have said. Yeah, Grease, I think. The film Grease. I'm gonna have to check when exactly that came out. I may have been a little bit older when Grease came out, but that was probably the first film that I really, really loved obsessively. I remember going with my brother and his then girlfriend to see that. I'm falling in love with Danny Zuko, as you do. Favourite book was probably Pride and Prejudice at that point, which I found on our bookshelves. Well, had been our grandparents, but when they downsized, we got all their books. My friend was Karen and Sally and Sue. Pocket money. Because I had 3 older brothers, and they all used to give me 50p a week each, which was really nice of them. When they remembered, 2 of them were working in full-time jobs, and my immediate brother was an apprentice, so he was working also. But I had a Saturday job a little while after this. At 15, my brother's girlfriend gave me a job in the fruit and veg shop where she was a manageress. I was rolling in money then. Things I loved. I loved reading. Still quite, what's the word? Introverted. Still at home a lot in my bedroom reading. But the other thing I loved was Graham up the road. He didn't love me. He was just one in a long line of people that took my fancy and didn't love me back. I hated, and I put the name of the bully at school, but I'm going to be charitable and not say that. I really did hate Mr. Squires, though. The physics teacher, because I didn't understand what he was on about, and he wasn't very nice. And I didn't like maths either, so they're both school related. Desire, I just desired a boyfriend of any sort, really. Wasn't particular, because everybody else seemed to have one, and I seemed to be the only person without one. That was what I thought. Probably not true. And then, Jean reminded me the other thing I really wanted was boobs, and they took a long time coming. Okay, so I hope that was useful and sparked some memories for you. Let me have a look down here. So we've got Joyce in her brother's white silk tie. Hi, Mary. Thanks for joining us. I hope you got some good ideas from there, Mary. Share them in the comments if you did. Heather remembers buying a pair of velvet loons from Bieber. Wow. Fab. Do you have a picture of you in them, Heather? Joyce. Ooh. Joyce watched a film underage. Exciting. Which one was it, Joyce? Dare you tell me? Oh, but her best friend deserted her. Oh, that's sad. Oh, I hope it wasn't while you were watching the underage film. And Joyce had macaroni every Saturday. Macaroni, there's that pasta thing. The Italian influence. Excellent. And enjoyed fishing. Oh, thank you, Christine. Greece was 1978. So let me see. Yeah, that's about right. The age I'm thinking of, it would have come out to this younger me in this picture here. All righty. Thank you for those comments. Let's have a look. We are almost halfway through. Right, so as I say, you could write that up as a paragraph if you wanted to, a descriptive paragraph of you in third person. It could be she is, or the girl was, or the name even. Can't remember having a nickname with my friend. Maybe if Karen sees this, she can remind me if I did. But hey, whatever. You could use your name and write it as if someone else is looking at that younger you and describing them. You can write it first person. I am Alison. I am 15. Hiding in my bedroom, reading Pride and Prejudice. About love and wishing that I had a love like Mr. Darcy. Or you could write it just as a list, as a character profile. So, as I say, I have character profiles. I will tidy this up into one, put it on my website. So if you wanted to, you could download that and just fill in each field and stick that in. Or fill it in on, type in answers and stick it in your memoir. Do whatever you like. Choose one. Just have a snapshot of you as all of those things, whatever you like. Now, if you do it as a piece of text, so set yourself a timer, because that limits the waffle, I find. You'll only get those, largely only get those really important points. And if you are scrapbooking them, you could stick a photo with them, which helps. Readers do like a visual. My mum made meals according to the day of the week. We always knew which day it was. Yeah, that's great. I probably wouldn't have liked it as a child, but as an adult with a poor memory and wondering what to buy when I go shopping, that would be really useful. It would really help me to structure my life doing that. Right. So, number 2. Okay, so I've mentioned that we're not going to cover schools much, but I'm going to do a similar thing, really. I'm going to be quiet this time and let you think and do this with my timer. So again, I'm going to suggest a snapshot of schooling, just so that your scrapbook is complete. The gift that you're giving people is complete with a hugely important aspect of your young life, but not going into it in depth. As I say, we're not writing an encyclopedic recording of your entire childhood, but you can go back to this. You put what you like in your scrapbook. There's the YouTube thing that you could watch for further ideas, or you could do a separate scrapbook of my school life, which for me would be, I think, a good thing, and make the writing up those scraps of workshop stuff more manageable. And it's something that authors do, particularly memoirists. The memoirist Anne Mott, I don't know if you know her books are lots of little snatches of experience, but she writes different ones about different periods. It's a common practice. So what I'm going to get you to do, stop babbling and let you get on with it, is to write down a list of the schools that you went to. And if you want to, put them in order if you can. So you might want to spread them on your paper. I often forget and have to go back. A list of schools that you went to, the ages you were there. If you want to, you can jot a few notes against each one. Favourite friends there, subjects you liked or disliked, your form tutor or past teacher, but just don't do loads. Do at most, and do it as just jottings, maybe bullet points, to make it manageable, because I'm only going to give you 7 minutes and you've got to get through your entire childhood of schooling. Unless you were lucky and just went to a couple. So I'll come back to the comments in a minute. 7 minutes. See how we go. Write a list of the schools you went to, start to finish. You might want to put different classes and different ages as well. In the 7 minutes I'm talking. We've got 1 more minute just to finish those jottings. Here we go. What have I got? Right. So, how did you get on with that then? I managed to jot some bits for most of them. Alright, stop ticking now. Yeah, I won't tell you the names of the schools because all but one of them still exists by those names. Yeah, infant school. So I had this, my birthday is in the summer. So I had this thing that I was just one age group all year. I've only just realised that as I was trying to put something to something, but I didn't. I was actually so. Did that work out? Yes. So I went to school at 5. I was 5 when I went to school. I'm fairly certain. Yeah, 5. I had 2 years there, definitely. I was in 2 classes. So, first year, and I can't remember the name of the teacher there, but I remember loving her. She would have been my first non-mother love, probably. Like she was a goddess. And it's really annoying me that I can't remember it. It's not that many years ago that I could still remember. I'm going to have to look back through those snatches of writing, see if her name was there. I'm equating her with Miss Honey in the Matilda film. So that's, we just worship the ground she walked on because she was blonde, and I'm sure angels played music when she walked through the room, but no, there you go. A big sunny classroom and playing and growing cress seeds and learning to read. And I loved playtime. So that's good. As a primary teacher, I'm glad to see that my strongest memory of that age group was playing and friends and learning to socialise in a big group of people. I remember one of the boys falling asleep during story time. Okay, and then age 6, I moved up to the next class where I was in love with Simon B. But he sat on the top table, and I was sat on the top table for a little while, but then they moved me down to a slightly lower table, whether because somebody came or not, or because I was middling. I went through my school years always being middling. And yeah, maths was and science subjects linked to maths have always been my downfall. Being moved back down to the lower table and feeling the shame of that. I carried that memory through with me to life as a teacher, to the impact that had on children. And a girl with curls who was a bit like a baby doll and left, and how I cried when she left. Big brown curls and big eyes. We're kind of primed, aren't we, to want to nurture things with big eyes. I've forgotten the word for how we're primed, but anyway, whatever. That's why we look after babies. And then at the age of 7, then going to junior school. And again, I think I've misremembered this lady's name, but I was petrified of the teacher there. So I've just put fear, and fear. Maths again mostly, though I did get praise for my drawing skills at that age. And then the next school that I went to, so they built a new school that I moved to at the age of 8, and my strongest memory is of standing in the playground on the first day of term and the list being called out of the children who would go to the new school, and the sense of rejection that I had. I wanted to stay in my old school despite the fear. But I was going to this new building, which was open plan. So for that one, at the age of 8, 9 and 10, I put chaos, lack of structure, and us mostly being feral, we were allowed to do what we liked. But looking back as an adult, I see it actually, it was quite a creative experience because we were allowed to do what we liked. And I chose to sit in quiet rooms reading quite a lot of the time, or writing stories. That's probably when my writing really began to develop. But I did very little maths, so that didn't help. At the next school where I went, we had high schools in our town at that time. So I went there just after my 11th birthday, and I was there till the end of my 13th year, just before my 14th birthday. And again, my friends there, Karen P, Sally and Sue T. It was an all-girls school, which seems bonkers now to think about it. And the fear at that first day of having to walk into town and that I might get lost, and it seemed such a long way. The girls' school was right in town and the boys' school was right by where I lived. They had that anomaly. So some years later, they mixed them so that local kids could go to the nearby one. And then at 14 and 15, I went to the local community college, where I was still friends with Karen and Sue and Sally. But then I also became very good friends with Claire, who is still a friend of mine, as is Karen. And Wendy, who I haven't seen for a very long time. If you're out there, Wendy, I'd like to know how you're getting on. Okay. Enough of mine. What are we on? About 20 minutes. Joyce says that I loved hockey because I could get my revenge on a nasty girl in my class. Hard tackles. Yes, excellent. Great memory. And Jean is... I'm provoking memories for Jean. That's great, Jean. I'm glad. Having lots of giggles to yourself. I'm glad it's making you happy. That is the point of this thing, to make you happy and give you some enjoyment. Right, okay. I was worried I wouldn't have enough here today. I may just manage it. Let's see. So we've done schools. I may actually not have enough. Where's number... Oh, yeah, here we go. Right, so let's think then about you. In my case, shall I show? No, don't show. The gawky teenager on the verge of adulthood, with my long, thin arms but big bones, and my haircut that my dad didn't want me to have because he wanted it to stay long and childlike. What were you like then at that point? And I'm thinking about that beginning of independence. So for me, it kicked off by me having to, wouldn't have done it otherwise, the introvert that I was then, having to go to school on my own, catch a bus on my own, into town, which was only 2-3 miles tops away, but it's not something that I had done previously. I only went to town a handful of times before that on my own. So independence, whether I wanted it or not, and beginning to get a wider circle of friends, and with those friends having leisure time. So it wasn't just going to play across the fields with the mates I lived near. It was going to meet them in town, on the town hall steps, under the clock, because we didn't have mobiles in those days, and having some leisure time with them. So for you, that could be, stop clicking, that could be, it could be that you were in a group, you joined a group of something, youth groups, scouts, walking groups. David, in my writing group, often writes about the youth group that he was a member of and the plays that they put on and particular memories when he hears a snatch of song that take him back to a particular play that they did. It could be walking groups that you were in. You might have done the Duke of Edinburgh Award and gone on weekends away, or just walks, or a whole weekend away. You might have gone to the YMCA, or YWCA we had in our town, also the Y-Dub, as it was called. Are you going to the Y-Dub, which I never did get to. I went to a church group once and tried it, but it was all a little bit too chaotic and noisy and rough for introverted me. You might have gone on holiday with a group. So my dad's, in his memoirs, he writes about going with a group of friends, I think they were school friends, when he was 14 or 15, on a camping trip into the Yorkshire Dales. And I actually, amongst some photographs that a relative sent, I actually found those photographs. And the stories that he told actually match. They pitched their tent in what seemed a nice dry rocky thing, and then it rained overnight and they realised they were in a riverbed. A theatre trip, a particular theatre trip. We went on a theatre trip with school to see Macbeth because we were studying it, and I'd never been to the... Had I been? I'd only ever been with school before, but I particularly remember that one. A disco you went to with friends. So we're thinking about you going particularly with friends at that age, on your own, going to something, or a one-off thing, a one-off event activity. So I can remember a bike ride that I went on with Karen when I got my first bike and went on a bike ride around this age. Anyway, go. I'm going to put 7 minutes on. What are we on? Ooh, let's make it 5 minutes. No, 7. 7 minutes. 7 minutes of, and I've called it a visit to, or a trip to with, name somebody you're with. An independent trip to somewhere and a memory you have about it. 2 minutes. Okay, just 1 more minute to finish paragraph. Okay. How are we doing? Okay. So I haven't got very far into this piece, but I will share what I've got. And if you've done any, please put it in the comments. So mine was a bike ride with Karen to the outwoods. For Christmas, when I was 15, my mum and stepdad bought me my first ever brand new bike. I'd had my brother's old bike once, briefly, until he bagsed it and took the wheels off to use on a go-kart he was making. My new bike was a rally shopper with a detachable basket on the front and a rack at the back you could clip things onto, securing them with bungee cords. Though not coats or bags with long handles, I would discover, unless you wanted the toggles to dangle into the wheels, jamming them up and causing you to fly off. Never having had a bike or learnt cycling proficiency, I was a danger to myself on that bike and anxious as I was on it, something of a danger to other road users too, having a habit of wobbling alarmingly when signalling with my arm or manoeuvring round corners, let alone going down very steep hills, as I did when I cycled with Karen up to the outwoods one bright spring day. So there. I can't remember actually what we did up there. I just remember coming, and they say that your brain will disregard memories that are ordinary because it's got to file so much stuff, it thinks, well, it's not worth bothering with this, but it's just a bit ordinary. Get rid of that. But some things that go wrong, it tends to store, apparently, because it's storing it to remind you later. Don't do this. Don't go on this hill on a bike with very small wheels that you're anxious about riding, because last time you pulled in front of somebody. Don't do it again. So yeah, remember the trees and the sunlight coming through, and me being scared of going down this incredibly steep hill around near where we live, and Karen laughing because she thought it was very funny. And she'd got a bike with much bigger wheels, so I was having to cycle really madly to get my small wheels up these very big hills, and she was doing it with ease and knew what she was doing. So I remember that clearly. I will finish writing the funny things, but I was probably saying to her, how can I get a boyfriend? Everybody's got one. And I seem to remember she would have been saying the same. Jean, around the ages of 14 and 16, my friends and I did a lot of hitchhiking. We lived in Portsmouth and would come to London, Southampton, etc. for the day. When I think of those times since, certainly wouldn't do it now. You wouldn't want young people you know to do it now either, would you? Those days seem a lot safer. Thank God we never came to any harm. Yes. My mother and I often said it was safer in those days. It wasn't really, and I can think of several murder cases that I could quote to you that prove that it wasn't. Hey, but we thought it was, just as young people tend to know. Joyce said, my friend worked in a local hotel where bus trips took visitors for a day out. We were allowed to sit at the back of the bus for free because she knew the bus driver. Wow, again, we had a lovely day trip to Skye. Beautiful. That sounds really nice. So I'd love to see those memories written up. Please share them. As I said before, you can put them in the comments here. Go back to the post. You can, what we're thinking, the lady at the RVS and I are thinking of maybe having some sort of competition in the new year of pieces that people have written, and asking you to send them in. But we'll talk about that at another point when we've ironed out the how to do it. So right, it's nearly, I'm making it time to finish. I have 3 clocks all with different times on, but I think we're coming up to the end of the session. Somebody will tell me if I'm right. If you do want one more task, write about a bus journey into town as when you were young, what you pass, what you see. So there's one last prompt for you. Set yourself a timer, 7 minutes, a bus journey into town at that point. Christine says, thank you. Thank you, Christine. Thanks for coming and thanks for putting in the comments. And yeah, I'm glad that's... Jean says she'd love to visit Skye, and that you were very lucky to go there, Joyce. I'd love to visit Skye. Maybe we can have a Royal Voluntary Service writing. Let's have a writing activity in Skye, everybody. That'd be great. All right, nice to see you. Join me next week for, I think it's love and friendship next week. See you. Bye.